Before 2011, the dark web was a mystery to almost everyone. That changed when a 26-year-old libertarian named Ross Ulbricht combined the anonymity of the Tor network with the untraceable nature of Bitcoin to create Silk Road. It was the Amazon of the underworld, a digital bazaar where you could order everything from high-grade narcotics to forged IDs with the click of a button. Operating under the pseudonym Dread Pirate Roberts, Ulbricht built a billion-dollar empire right under the nose of the FBI. Before we continue, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and let's dive into the empire of the first dark web kingpin. Long before the name Dread Pirate Roberts started circulating in hidden corners of the internet, there was a quiet, intelligent student named Ross Ulbricht. He was born in Austin, Texas, raised in a regular household, and followed a path that looked nothing like the one he would later take. He earned a bachelor's degree in physics in 2006 on a full academic scholarship, then went on to complete a master's degree in materials science and engineering. On paper, everything pointed toward a stable, professional future. But things didn't go as planned. After graduation, he tried day trading and even launched a video game company. Neither worked out. He later started an online used books business called Good Wagon Books, but that didn't succeed either. During this time, his thinking began to shift. He became deeply interested in libertarian ideas, supporting figures like Ron Paul, and studying the works of Ludwig von Mises. He believed strongly in voluntary exchange and personal freedom. In his own words, he wanted to use economic theory as a means to abolish the use of coercion and aggression amongst mankind. That idea didn't stay an idea for long. And soon, he began building something that tested those beliefs in a way no one had ever seen before. Around late 2010, that idea turned into a plan. Ross began working on a website that he initially called Underground Brokers. The concept was simple but bold. In his private notes, he described it as a place where people could buy anything anonymously with no trail whatsoever that could lead back to them. That idea soon became Silk Road. He built the platform mostly on his own, using basic programming tools and open source software. The site was not placed on the normal internet. It ran as a hidden service on the Tor network, which encrypted data and routed it through multiple servers to hide identities and locations. This made both users and the website itself extremely difficult to trace. Payments were handled using Bitcoin, a digital currency that allowed transactions without traditional banking systems. While all transactions were recorded publicly, users who stayed anonymous could operate with a strong level of privacy. To make the system work, he added features that built trust between strangers. There was an escrow system that held payments until deals were completed, along with a review system where buyers rated sellers. The first listings were small, but the system worked. And once the first transactions went through, something unexpected started to happen. For a while, Silk Road stayed quiet, almost hidden in plain sight. Only a small number of users knew how to access it, and activity moved slowly. But that didn't last. In June 2011, everything changed. A major online article exposed the existence of the site, and almost overnight, traffic surged. What started as a small experiment suddenly became widely known across the internet. New users began pouring in, curious about this anonymous marketplace. By early 2013, the platform had grown massively. At one point, there were around 10,000 products listed, and about 70% of them were related to drugs. The site wasn't random or chaotic. Everything was organized into categories, making it easy for users to browse and compare listings. What made it different was the trust system. Buyers could leave reviews, rate sellers, and share their experiences. Over time, certain vendors built strong reputations with feedback scores often going above 99% positive. This gave users confidence, even in a completely anonymous environment. The platform also allowed global access. People from different countries could connect, communicate, and complete transactions without ever meeting. And as more users joined, Silk Road stopped being just a website. It started turning into something much bigger. As Silk Road kept growing, the numbers behind it started to tell a much bigger story. What looked like a hidden website was now running at a scale few people could even imagine. Between February 2011 and July 2013, the platform processed approximately 1,229,465 transactions. In that time, total sales reached 9,116,64 bitcoins, with 614,305 bitcoins collected as commission by the operator. At the time, this translated to around $183 million in total sales and about $13 million in commissions. The user base expanded just as fast. The platform connected around 146,946 buyers with 3,877 vendors, all operating in a system built entirely on anonymity. And it wasn't slowing down. Daily sales, which once started at just $10, had climbed to as high as 262,959 by mid-2013. Communication inside the platform was constant. In just a 60-day period, users exchanged over 1,217,218 private messages, showing how active and structured the marketplace had become. Despite having no physical location, no official oversight, and no real identities, the system worked. Orders were placed, payments were processed, and transactions were completed across the world. But the bigger it became, the harder it was to stay hidden, and the cracks were already starting to show. In May 2013, the site was briefly taken offline after a sustained DDoS attack. It was one of the first signs that the platform could be disrupted from the outside. Not long after, another strange moment raised questions. On June 23, 2013, authorities reported seizing 11.02 bitcoins, which at the time were worth around $814. Many believed it was part of a trap designed to study how the system worked. At the same time, technical pressure was building. The real location of the Silk Road server was eventually linked to Reykjavik, Iceland. That meant the system was not as invisible as it appeared. There was also a deeper issue. The platform was built on the idea of freedom and no control, but as it grew, more rules and oversight had to be added just to keep it running smoothly. Trust had to be managed, disputes had to be handled, and activity had to be monitored. The system was starting to expose itself. And while these cracks were forming on the surface, something else was happening quietly behind the scenes. Someone was already watching. By 2013, Silk Road was no longer just a hidden website. It had become a target. Multiple agencies began focusing on one goal, finding out who was behind it and how it was being run. The breakthrough didn't come from one big mistake, but from small details that slowly connected. One of the earliest clues came from a username, Altoid, which had been used to promote the site in its early days. That same username later posted a message asking for programming help and included an email address. That email contained the name Ross Ulbricht. At the same time, the platform itself was being quietly explored from the inside. Access to internal systems revealed patterns. Activity logs showed that the person running the site was operating in the Pacific time zone, narrowing down the possible location. There were also digital traces linked to the server data that had already been collected. Combined with online activity and account behavior, the picture started becoming clearer. This wasn't one single discovery. It was a slow process of connecting identities, patterns, and behavior across different platforms. The anonymous figure known as Dread Pirate Roberts was no longer just a name. And once those connections were strong enough, it was only a matter of time before they made their move. On October 1st, 2013, everything came to an end in a place no one expected: a public library in San Francisco. Ross Ulbricht was sitting with his laptop connected to Silk Road, actively managing the platform. The moment had to be precise. If the laptop was closed or locked, critical evidence could be lost. So instead of rushing in, agents created a distraction. Two people staged an argument nearby, drawing his attention just long enough. That was the opening. As he looked away, he was taken into custody and his laptop was seized while it was still open and running. Inside it was direct access to the Silk Road system, including administrative controls, and private data. That single moment secured the connection between him and the identity of Dread Pirate Roberts. At the same time, the website was taken offline. Along with the arrest came massive digital seizures. Around 144,000 bitcoins were taken from accounts linked to the platform. Earlier, another 26,000 bitcoins had already been seized, marking one of the largest cryptocurrency confiscations at the time. The hidden empire was gone in an instant. But while the website had disappeared, the real battle was just beginning. After the arrest, the case moved quickly into court. In January 2015, the trial began, and within weeks, the outcome was decided. On February 4th, 2015, Ross Ulbricht was found guilty on 7 charges, including operating a continuing criminal enterprise, distributing illegal goods through the internet, money laundering, and computer-related offences. A few months later, on May 29th, 2015, the sentence was announced. He received 2 life sentences plus 40 years with no possibility of parole. In addition to that, he was ordered to forfeit around $183 million based on the total activity linked to the platform. There were also serious allegations presented during sentencing. It was claimed that about $730,000 had been paid in murder-for-hire arrangements targeting multiple individuals, although no such acts were actually carried out and no charges were filed for them in the trial. Over the years, he tried to appeal the decision. In 2017, the conviction was upheld, and in 2018, the Supreme Court declined to review the case. Then, after more than 11 years in prison, something unexpected happened. On January 21st, 2025, he received a full and unconditional pardon and was released. And just like that, one of the most controversial digital empires in history came to a close, but its impact still hasn't faded. Silk Road didn't just disappear when it was taken down. It changed how people think about privacy, digital money, and what's possible on the internet. At its peak, it connected users from around the world, with about 30% from the United States and 27% choosing to stay undeclared, showing just how global and hidden it really was. Even after it was shut down, similar platforms tried to take its place, but none carried the same impact. So, was this a dangerous system that went too far, or an idea that exposed something bigger about control and freedom? And what would you have done if you discovered it back then? Before you go, make sure to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. We'll catch you up in the next video.